They didn't gaslight you because you were wrong. They did it because admitting the truth would destroy their identity. People will hurt you, and then pretend they have no idea what you're talking about. They'll cut you with silence. They'll twist the truth. They'll shift the blame, and then they'll look at you as if you're the crazy one. It feels personal. It feels deliberate. It feels cruel. But the truth? It's deeper than you think. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that is where this story begins. Because when someone hurts you and then acts innocent, they're not actually responding to you. They're responding to the parts of themselves they cannot control, cannot accept, and cannot admit exist. Let's walk slowly into this truth together. There's a psychological game people play, often without knowing it. It's a game where the mind takes everything uncomfortable, fear, insecurity, guilt, weakness, and secretly pushes it out onto someone else. This is projection. Instead of confronting the truth within, they cast it onto the person closest to them, onto the person safe enough to take the blow, onto you. So when they hurt you and act innocent, they're protecting a fragile part of themselves, a part that would crumble if it ever had to admit, "Maybe I was wrong." They're not defending the truth. They're defending their ego, and ego is the master of denial. When someone refuses to face their own shadow, they build another identity, the innocent one, the one who never hurts anyone, the one who's just misunderstood, the one who doesn't know what happened, the one who somehow ends up the victim in every story. Why? Because if they play the victim, they never have to face the villain inside them. This is the psychological trap Jung warned about, the refusal to face the unconscious self. So they hurt you. Then they pretend you imagined it, because facing the truth would damage the fragile world they've built inside their mind. Here's the part most people never understand. When you show emotional strength, when you speak truth, when you hold boundaries, you become a mirror that reflects everything inside them they refuse to see. Their selfishness, their carelessness, their immaturity, their emotional irresponsibility. And instead of learning from the reflection, they shatter the mirror. They blame you. They distance themselves. They rewrite the story so they can remain innocent. But this isn't about you. It never was. You just became the screen on which their unconscious projected its movie. People who act innocent after hurting you often use an old psychological strategy. Punish with silence. Avoid with distance. Control with confusion. Because if they admit nothing, you're forced to question everything. You begin to doubt yourself. You begin to reinterpret events. You begin to think maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you're imagining things. But this is the exact moment you must wake up. Because you're not too sensitive. You're aware. You're observant. You're conscious. And consciousness is threatening to anyone who still lives in emotional darkness. Hold someone accountable, and you'll instantly see their true character. Strong people reflect. Weak people attack. Healed people listen. Wounded people deflect. Those who love you will try to understand. Those who fear their own shadow will try to escape. So when they act innocent after hurting you, understand, you're watching a person fight a battle with themselves, not with you. With themselves. Let's go deeper. When someone hurts you and then acts innocent, it's because admitting the truth would cost them 3 things. 1, their image. They need to be seen as good, even if it's a lie. 2, their control. Owning their mistake would give power back to you. 3, their comfort. Self-reflection is painful for those who avoid growth, so they choose denial. They choose the victim role. They choose the performance of innocence. Because it feels safer than transformation. As Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. And some people will do anything to avoid that pain. You're not here to carry their guilt. You're not here to fix their projections. You're not here to absorb blame that is not yours. You're here to become aware, to break the cycle, to protect your emotional space. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop trying to convince them of the truth, you reclaim your power. Because power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering yourself. There's a sacred psychological law. People treat you the way they treat themselves internally. If they lie to themselves, they will lie to you. If they neglect themselves, they will neglect you. If they avoid their pain, they will avoid accountability. And if they cannot love their own soul, they will not know how to love yours. This is not your failure. This is their limitation. You don't heal by getting an apology. You don't heal by proving what they did. You don't heal by making them admit the truth. You heal the moment you understand. Their behavior had nothing to do with your worth, and everything to do with their wounds. You walk away differently when you finally realize you were dealing with someone fighting a battle you could never win for them. They hurt you and acted innocent, not because you deserved it, not because you imagined it, not because you overreacted, but because they were terrified of meeting their own shadow, and you were the mirror that exposed it. Your strength didn't push them away, it revealed who they already were. So let this video be your reminder. You are not here to shrink. You are not here to apologize for seeing the truth. You are not here to dim your awareness for someone else's comfort. You're here to grow, to awaken, to rise above the unconscious games people play. When someone acts innocent after hurting you, remember this: silence can be power, distance can be protection, awareness can be freedom. You don't need revenge. You need clarity, and you have it now. Let's go even deeper. There's a quiet truth many people never realize. Your growth triggers those who refuse to grow. Your awareness exposes their blindness. Your emotional stability highlights their instability. You think they're angry at you, but they're really angry at what you represent. You represent the very thing they're running from, their unrealized potential. To them, you're not a person. You're a symbol, a reminder, a reflection of a self they abandoned long ago. And so, when they hurt you and act innocent, they are not defending themselves against you. They are defending themselves against the guilt of wasted growth, against the pain of ignored truth. Most people are not fighting you. They're fighting themselves. Carl Jung taught that the human mind is divided. A conscious self that wants to appear good, and an unconscious self that contains everything unhealed, unspoken, uncomfortable. When you trigger this unconscious self, it rises like a shadow behind them. They feel it. They fear it. They deny it. So they push it onto someone else. And all of a sudden, you become the problem. You become the villain in the story they tell to protect their identity. This is why you can show kindness, and they will still attack. You can offer clarity, and they will still deny. You can speak truth, and they will still twist it, because they're not fighting your message. They're fighting their shadow. And you can't win a war someone is waging inside themselves. Here's a secret most people miss. People rewrite the story to protect the version of themselves they wish were true. A person who sees themselves as the nice one cannot accept the fact that they caused harm. A person who prides themselves on being the loyal one cannot tolerate the truth that they betrayed someone. A person who sees themselves as the victim cannot allow themselves to be exposed as the source of the conflict. So they reconstruct reality, piece by piece, memory by memory, until they are innocent again. It's not truth they're seeking, it's comfort. It's ego survival, and ego is the master architect of false innocence. Have you ever noticed how some people hurt you, and then just vanish? No explanation, no accountability, no emotional cleanup, just silence. This is not an accident. This is a psychological defense mechanism called avoidant coping. They disappear because facing you means facing the truth. Facing the truth means facing themselves. Facing themselves feels unbearable. So they run, not from you, from their own reflection. And the silence they give you is the evidence of a guilty conscience they refuse to acknowledge. Some people are deeply attached to their wound. It's their identity, their shield, their excuse, their entire sense of self. Take away their victimhood, and they have nothing left. This is why they hurt you and act innocent. Because the minute they admit they caused harm, they lose the suffering-based identity they've been clinging to. Pain can be addictive. Blame can be comforting. Denial can feel like safety. And until they are ready to grow, they will treat your clarity as a threat, your boundaries as rejection, your strength as an insult. You don't break this cycle by reacting. You don't break it by pleading. You don't break it by forcing closure. You break it by choosing yourself, by stepping out of the psychological game entirely, by refusing to play the role they assigned you, whether it was the villain, the problem, the overthinker, the emotional one, the too much, the too sensitive, the one making things up. You reclaim your power the moment you stop trying to prove what you already know. Awareness is freedom, and freedom is the beginning of emotional mastery. You don't need people to admit the truth for you to know what happened. You don't need validation for your intuition to be real. You don't need closure for the story to be complete. You already saw what you saw. You already felt what you felt. You already heard what you heard. And trying to convince someone who lives in denial is a waste of your soul's energy. As Jung said, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Watch their actions, not their innocence act. Because actions are truth. Words are disguise. There is a moment in emotional maturity where you realize some people didn't hurt you because you were weak. They hurt you because you were strong enough to expose what they weren't willing to face. Your clarity intimidated their confusion. Your maturity exposed their emotional age. Your honesty clashed with their self-deception. Your self-awareness threatened their illusions. You weren't the problem. You were the mirror. And they didn't like what they saw. In Stoic philosophy, there is a powerful truth. You cannot control people. You can only control your response. And sometimes the strongest response is no response. Sometimes the loudest statement is silence. Sometimes the greatest power is walking away. Because the moment you stop participating in their drama, their innocence act collapses. You starve the performance. You end the show. You remove yourself from the stage. And suddenly, they're left alone with the shadow they've been running from. The moment you stop reacting. The moment you stop chasing clarity. The moment you stop explaining yourself. Something shifts. They can feel it. People can sense when you've healed. Your energy becomes calm. Your spirit becomes light. Your presence becomes untouchable. You rise. And they remain where they are. This is the beginning of emotional separation, where your growth becomes the wall they cannot cross. Because innocence is an act, but healing is a frequency, and not everyone can match it. Before we move to the conclusion, let me leave you with this. You didn't lose someone who was good for you. You lost someone who wasn't ready for the level of truth you bring. They hurt you and acted innocent, because they feared the part of themselves you awakened. Your awareness wasn't the problem. Your empathy wasn't the problem. Your sensitivity wasn't the problem. Their shadow was. You've made it this far, so let me tell you the truth plainly. You were never meant to carry the weight of someone else's denial. You were never meant to fight battles inside someone else's mind. You were never meant to lose yourself trying to make someone see what they're committed to avoiding. People who hurt you and act innocent aren't rejecting you. They're rejecting their own reflection. And that is not your burden. Your only responsibility is to return to yourself, to rebuild your center, to protect your peace, to stay aligned with the truth you already knew in your heart. Carl Jung taught that the shadow is not something to fear. It is something to understand, something to integrate, something to rise above. But not everyone is ready for that kind of inner work. Not everyone is prepared to meet themselves honestly. Not everyone is willing to grow. But you are, and that is why this experience found you. Not to break you, but to awaken you. You didn't lose anything. You learned everything. Healing isn't loud. Healing isn't dramatic. Healing doesn't always come with closure. Healing is quiet. It's a calm decision you make one day. I will no longer betray myself to keep others comfortable. And once you make that decision, the world around you change. The people who can't grow will fall away. The people who can meet you will rise. The relationships built on projection will dissolve. The connections built on truth will emerge. The universe always rearranges itself around your healing. There is a Stoic law that fits perfectly here. What you allow will continue. When you stop allowing the games, the cycles end. When you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, the confusion ends. When you stop giving energy to those who weaponize innocence, the suffering ends. Your awareness cuts the pattern. Your growth ends the story. Your silence reclaims the power they thought they took. So let me ask you, not as a creator, but as someone who understands the depth of your journey, what would your life look like if you finally stopped accepting the version of yourself reflected back to you by the unhealed? Take that question with you. Let it sink into your bones. Let it guide your next chapter. If this message reached you, if it opened something inside you, if it put words to what you've silently carried, then don't walk this journey alone. Subscribe. Not for me, but for you. For the clarity you've been searching for the emotional strength you're building, for the deeper self-awareness you're stepping into. This channel exists for one purpose: to help you master your inner world, so the outer world can no longer control you. So if you're ready to grow, if you're ready to heal, if you're ready to become the version of you hiding beneath the chaos, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next chapter.